Okay.
Good morning and welcome to the blog box. Now it's absolutely freezing here in North Wales. I don't know where you are, but last time I was on this blog box, I told you how lovely it was. But I'm definitely not here to talk about the weather with you today. So hi, I'm Kat Massey and I'm your visibility and confidence specialist. So I help entrepreneurs and business owners to get their business more visible. And this is why we are doing these interviews. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome Sarah here today. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning. I'm in Essex and it's freezing here too.
We've had like snow, wind. It's just been absolutely crazy. And then Easter Sunday, I was sat in the garden in a vest top. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Sarah, I absolutely love your t-shirt, and we're going to start off with that name today. So tell us about how that name came about. Fabnewlous. I love it.
Fabulous. It was a bit of an accident because I'm kind of one of my things is fabulous. Everything's fab, and it's something that I always like. I'll type in as on people's posts or on messages and things like that. It'll be, oh, that's fab and things. And I was trying to think of a name, and I kind of just created a working title because it was about helping people create new habits. So I thought, oh, Fabnewlous. I was on a plane at the time, and I don't know about you, but sometimes when you've got absolutely no distractions, things come in. I thought, oh, Fabnewlous. And it was a bit of a joke. And so the person who was setting up my website, and I sort of said, oh, well, I haven't really got a name yet. I don't know whether to. She said, but I love that name. It's brilliant. It's just fabulous. So it kind of stuck, and and it just sort of stuck, and it's about creating a fabulous new life. So
I love it. I love a take on words. I think it's amazing. So what is it you actually do then, Sarah, and why?
What I do is I help people, mainly women, but not averse to working with men, but I help people create new positive habits in their lives so that they can kind of improve their lives, they can enrich their lives, they can take steps towards their ideal life, just one at a time. And it is about creating new positive habits rather than trying to drop things or to stop doing things, because for me I think once you start doing more positive things, the negative stuff kind of just gets nudged out naturally, rather than saying, I'm going to stop doing this and I won't do that, which can feel a little bit like you're depriving yourself, or it's a little bit kind of, oh, how am I going to do that? So by starting something fab, you kind of start to edge out the not so fab stuff.
Amazing. So you obviously know who your ideal client is. So tell us who your ideal client is and why do they need you, Sarah?
She's what I call mid-adult, and what I think a lot of people call a woman of a certain age, but it's that kind of anywhere between 40 and 70, and I think these days it's where a lot of women are kind of almost discovering themselves. They're almost really having the confidence to step into who they really are. Having particularly that sort of age group, we've often had very traditional roles almost expected of us. She could be anywhere where children are becoming more independent, but on the flip side, her parents are possibly becoming more dependent. So she's kind of stuck between potentially, children leaving home, or even children who've left home and are having crises. And parents who are gradually, their health's deteriorating, and she's thinking, oh, crikey, they're going to need more help, more support. So she's kind of in there. Good old biology is kicked in, as it does around anywhere sort of after the age of about 40. So things like the menopause, things like weight's harder to shift, but also from a sort of psychological point of view, confidence often goes, a bit more anxiety, parents, children, and things like that kick in, and there's kind of a lot of things going at her. She might actually be single for the first time in a while. So a lot of people who either marriages have broken down, relationships broken down, they've been bereaved or whatever, but suddenly she's kind of having to readjust her life as a single person, probably needing to earn money, maybe for the first time. And also she's looked in the mirror and suddenly thought, who are you? where did I go? You know, is this it? And she's kind of lost herself a bit. She's been mum to her kids. She's been babe or darling or hun to her partner. She's been my love or dear to her parents. And all of a sudden, there's this realization that when was the last time somebody actually called me by my name? And it's that kind of just life's kind of not taken your identity, but it's taken over your identity, and you've become all these things to other people, and you've forgotten somewhere in the middle there's you, kind of a little bit lost. And she just feels she doesn't know where to start to kind of find herself again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes total sense. Definitely speaking to me there. I could be your ideal client, even though I've not separated from my husband, but you know, there's still time, isn't there? I'm joking. So why do they need you?
I was just going back to partners. It might be that because kids have moved out and things like that, maybe even retirement's coming along, that actually you need to readjust your relationship. Your relationship boundaries have changed, and that could be because that can be quite a difficult time when you're used to working away, working, not being together, and suddenly you're together a lot more. Relationships can actually become a little bit fractured because you're kind of having to redefine how they work. So that's there. Why does, sorry, what was the question? Why do they need
I was just going to say, I was just going to touch on that as well. That resonates with me as well, because with me and my husband, we met at such an early age. So we started as 2, but then we grew very quickly to a 4. And now we're back to being 2. I totally get that, Sarah. So why is it that people need you?
Because it's not always easy to see the wood for the trees, because sometimes I think you don't know where to start. People just thinking sort of exercise, dieting, self-help books, all those things, people dive in, right, I'm going to go on this diet and that will change everything. And of course it doesn't, because it's unrealistic. They dive into self-help books, and as we know, there's some brilliant ones out there, but I think unless somebody's guiding you through it and giving you actionable steps, they're not always the right idea. They're very easy to read, but they're much harder to actually action. Exercise, you know, it's like, oh, I'll buy running shoes and I'll go running, and then, oh, that hurt, don't like that. So they need me because I can build those tiny little actions, and that's my kind of big thing. It's tiny little steps that add up, and it's almost like you don't notice until suddenly one day you think, oh my goodness, that, you know, everything's changing, and it's almost unnoticeable because they are small steps, which makes it much easier to achieve, and it's much more long term. I don't do quick fix. I do long term change, which is what people want.
Yeah, sounds absolutely amazing. So why is it important as well then to work on the body as well as the mind for confidence?
We're all about mindset at the moment in business and life, aren't we? It's all about mindset. And do you know what? Totally get that. It's really good. Understanding the sort of mindset you've got is so important. But question to you, to anyone out there, have you ever gained weight? How did it make you feel? Quite often it makes you feel kind of lumpy. It makes you feel flabby. It dents your confidence. And I think I'm not saying everybody's got to be slim, but I think when your body's working well, when your muscles are working well, when your body's being exercised, being energized, it knocks on into the mind. There's a good old Latin saying, I can't remember who said it originally, but it's mens sana in corpore sano, and it literally means a healthy mind in a healthy body. And it's the two together. It's hard to be physically healthy if your mind isn't working as well, and it's hard for your mind to work well when your body's not physically healthy. So it's a two-pronged approach, and it's something that, you know, a lot of us, I've gained weight over lockdown, and now that it's shifting because I'm really sort of working on it, I can feel the shift in my posture, I can feel the shift in my mindset, because I'm not looking in the mirror and thinking, why did I let that happen? I'm looking in the mirror and thinking, yeah, you know, I'm making changes and it's all good. So I think you have to work on the mind and the body. And as I say, it doesn't mean you've got to go out and start running, but it means things like your posture. It means doing some stretches, doing a little bit of exercise, even if it's walking, really helps to make everything seem A, possible, and B, more fun, really.
Yeah.
Fun.
Definitely, and it's being aware, isn't it? And I've definitely been more aware during lockdown. I think a lot of us have. So, what makes your approach different to anybody else's, Sarah?
I'm holistic. I look at everything. I also take it one day at a time, literally. And my big approach is like, just for today. Don't sort of think I've got to give up chocolate for the rest of my life. Think I'm going to eat healthily today, and then tomorrow I'm going to eat healthily today. So you're not thinking, oh, I'm going to deprive myself. I'm all about realism, what's realistic to people. So one of the first things is, how realistic is it for you to change the way you eat? And if somebody says, well, I've got kids at home, or I've got a husband that likes X, Y, and Z, it's not going to be very realistic for them. So it's okay, well, let's look at things that we can change, simple things that we can change. Let's look at breaking the patterns, breaking the habits, breaking the associations. So I don't say, right, here's your diet, go and follow it. Here's your exercise plan, go and follow it. I'll say, right, okay, so your habit is biscuits with coffee. So what you're going to do is put your coffee in the takeaway mug and go for a walk with it. Because you might walk down the road with the takeaway coffee, but you won't be walking down the road eating biscuits. No one does that. So it's breaking those habits, it's breaking that association. And I'll work with the person and really get to know them. And before we even start changing things, we work on figuring out what they do. Okay, so what are your habits? What are the things that need to change? Until you recognize those, you can't change things. You can't add new things in until you know what you're doing. And I'm all about moderation and balance. I'm all about 80% good, 20% the other stuff. We're not going to give up certain things, whether it's wine, crisps, chocolate, watching Netflix. People aren't going to give that up. They enjoy it. But it's about that balance. It's about moderation. So nothing's banned, nothing's forbidden, nothing's bad. It's all about balance. And that's where I think mine's different, is because I'm not saying you can't have. What I'm saying is you're making choices. And I also work on decluttering, both physical environment, material things, as well as mental things. Get rid of thoughts that aren't doing you any good. Get rid of possessions that are cluttering up your life. So it's a very holistic approach. It's really about the whole person.
And breaking those habits do take time, don't they, Sarah? I'm definitely a cup of tea person and a biscuit, and that's a habit I definitely need to break.
But you don't necessarily have to break it. You just need to maybe figure out why you do it. And if you enjoy the biscuit with your cup of tea, then in the great scheme of things, it's not a problem. It's if you have a packet of biscuits with your cup of tea, sort of thing. But it's also another thing, I really work on visualizations, visualizing yourself as you want to be, because that helps with decluttering. Because I bet if I get you to close your eyes and visualize you as you want to be, you ain't wearing tired, cheap, scruffy clothes. You're looking good. You're wearing clothes that feel good. So again, it's not just decluttering physically, but it's also thinking, right, actually, I need to change the way I think. I'm not saying we're all going to have expensive clothes, but when you visualize yourself, it's probably not in cheap stuff. It's probably not in scruffy stuff.
Yeah, and I'm totally all around visibility and everything like that. So how does it make us be more visible?
Particularly with business, healthy mind, healthy body builds confidence. You feel more confident inside. It's that internal confidence. You just feel, do you know what? I'm looking good. I feel good. I feel healthy. I feel happy. And that shows that means you're being authentic. You're being your true self. And I think particularly now in business, there's never been a time where being your authentic self has been more important, because that's what draws people towards you. People are getting really, really good, particularly all the online stuff, at spotting fakes. And I don't mean people who are deliberately being fake. I mean people who are trying to be something they're not because they think they ought to be. So I think being comfortable in your mind, your body, and having really putting the effort in there shows, because you just feel confident, and that really comes across whenever you're doing anything. And you stop worrying about the way you look, and you focus much more on the way you project yourself and what you say, and people are drawn to that. People are drawn to the authentic you.
Yeah, I definitely totally agree. And I don't know any entrepreneur that doesn't have some sort of story behind why they do what they do. So how has this impacted you, Sarah?
I mean, I've always, for the last, God knows how long, I've been in fitness, particularly behaviour change, working with people with long-term medical conditions and things like that. But 4 years ago, I got hit by 2 crises. My daughter had a massive crisis and fled a horribly abusive marriage, and my mother's health deteriorated rapidly, and they were kind of, one was 300 miles away from me in that direction and one was 200 miles away in that direction. Luckily, they ended up in the same town, but that was 200 miles away from where I lived, so I had to give up everything and move across country to support them, and that really not my identity, because I wasn't me anymore. I was the person helping them. It was everything kind of just all at once, and I was really angry and fed up and bitter and twisted, and it was you know the good old universe taps you on the shoulder and goes, can I just have a quick, and eventually it was wallop. It was like woof. I was buying avocados at the time, and it was like, hang on, this might not have been in my ideal life plan, but I chose to move. I chose to be there for them. That was my choice. And that was my wake up moment. It was, I chose this. So it's my responsibility. It's my choice. How do I now make the most of it? And that was the turning point for me, was instead of just telling everybody else what they had to do this, it was like, no, I need to do this. And it's been a slow burn, because it took me quite a while to get to here, but I was really getting somewhere, and then lockdown happened, and apart from the fact I couldn't see family and friends, in a way it was such a blessing, because it meant I could focus on development, so business development, but also self-development. And some of the stuff I've done, I've really healed kind of wounds from the past, and I've forgiven and I've let go. But the biggest thing was realizing that everything is a choice, whether it's a biscuit with your tea, whether it's moving halfway across the country to support your family and staying there. It's choice, and it's accepting that we make these choices and that we have responsibility for these choices. And actually that really was the turning point for me, because it meant that I started to choose myself. I started to choose to be me. I started to choose to go live, as you know, and not think, oh God, you can see my wrinkles and you can see how old I look, and oh, that wasn't very good and stuff. And actually that was really freeing for me, because I was worried so much less about what people thought the way I looked, and I was focusing on the message I was getting across. And I think that kind of really shines out of you when you find that, when you choose yourself, it really starts to shine. So the impact, it's made a huge impact on me, because I practiced what I preached. Because although I was always healthy and I had a great lifestyle, it took falling off that to realise how important it was to do it slowly and gradually.
Yeah. I absolutely love your choice of words as well, and I love that you had that epiphany moment, while you're getting avocados. Absolutely brilliant. So would you call yourself a mentor or a coach?
Definitely a mentor. I can coach people, I've got all the I've got the certificates and everything like that, but I'm much more of a mentor. I work with the client first and foremost. Always, I get to know as much as I can, but my style's much more about creating action steps, not saying, and what do you think you need to do, which I know is really important for some people, is they need to figure it out. I'm much more about creating those action steps with them. Okay, finding the problem areas and saying, right, okay, what about this? How are we going to fix this? So we very much work together. And at times I will be, this is what you need to do. And at other times it will be, what do you think you need to do? So it's more mentoring, bit of coaching mixed in, but it's a little bit, and I would say it's more mentoring than coaching, but it's very much client-led. The client is at the center of everything. Everything we do is client-led. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else. But the deal is they have to try it. They can't just come back and say, well, that didn't work. So, well, did you do it? Not really. They have to actually do it. So
it's Super important, isn't it, to find the right mentor as well. So what are people saying about you, Sarah, and your services?
That I'm tough but fair. That I think the big thing is that I've got this almost intuitive ability. It's almost like I know what needs to be done. And sometimes for me, it's quite frustrating because I'm waiting. I'm saying, come on, get there quicker. But I think people sort of say that I've got this intuitive ability to get right to the heart of the problem and help them create new thought patterns, new habit patterns, new lifestyle patterns that take you to your ideal life a step at a time. And I think a couple of people have said it seems really slow at first. It's like nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden, you realize that your mindset's changed, that you're achieving things you've never done before, that you're saying yes to things that you would always have said no to before, and that your bad habits are kind of no longer bad habits. They're just things that you don't do very often, again, out of choice, but that your confidence soars. So it's kind of that slow burn that gets you there. And a couple of people have said it's kind of like magic, because you don't realize what's happening until all of a sudden you're kind of, whoa, how did I get here? How did I get to be so confident? And it's, somebody said, she said it was weird because I was talking in front of a group and I came away from it and I suddenly thought, I can't believe I wasn't worried about talking to that group. Whereas 6 months ago, I'd have been in absolute pieces beforehand. And it was just like, get in, do it, come away, because she felt confident in herself. Her confidence in what she was saying just came across.
That's an amazing gift to have. Yeah, it's amazing. So what is the one thing, you know, if you were going to say to me or anybody who's watching, what is the one thing we can do right now to help with our confidence?
Okay, so wherever you're sitting, slump. Take a really good slumped posture, head down, and just say, I'm awesome. Doesn't feel very good, does it? Roll your shoulders back, sit up nice and tall, chest out, chin out, look the world in the eye and say, I am awesome.
I am awesome.
How much better does that feel? See, you're smiling now.
Yeah.
And it is, posture is everything. Really do that kind of shoulders back, chest out, chin up, looking the world in the eye and smiling. And you'll be amazed at the difference that, I've got goosebumps just from doing that. It's amazing the difference that makes to just your own inner confidence. It's just like you're taking back your power. Really,
I love that. My friends and I do have a little mantra like that. It's not as polite as yours, but it is something about obviously shoulders back, chin up, and you know,
bits out.
Stick the beauties out. Yeah, yeah. that's what we say, and it does just make us feel like we want to get our big girl pants on and go and face the world. So if someone wanted to work with you, Sarah, how can we find you?
Its best way is just to email me, sarah@fabnewlous.com. It's probably the quickest way. Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, it's been amazing chatting to you today. And what I'm going to do for everyone is I'm going to pop Sarah's links onto this YouTube channel underneath, so you can find Sarah really easily and get to work with her and to find your Fabnewlous self. So thank you so much, Sarah. And
no, thanks, Kat.